Hey everybody, this is Kristen and I have really exciting, well not really news, but a really exciting video for you today. This is the first clue for the Cotton Cuts 2019 Spring Mystery Quilt. So this year's name or theme is Stratford, and I just cannot tell you how much I'm in love with my fabrics. I got Titania and it's just gorgeous. Really pretty online, but really even better in person. So you're gonna make two different pieces, and I'll show you that in a second, but let me show you all the goodies that come in your first month. So we have the Hourglass Block of the Month card, which has a coloring sheet on the back. And basically, if you color that, post it to social media with the hashtag #CCColorChallenge, you might be the one who wins 2 yards of fabric. So definitely worth trying that. Inside, you also should have your clue card that'll tell you fabric 1 is, you know, this color right here. And you definitely want to keep this through all 10 months, because if you lose it, you have no idea what piece goes where, and you're really gonna regret it. So make sure that you have that. You also have something new this year, is we have 3 triangles. And it says, you know, triangle 1 small, triangle 2 medium, triangle 3 large. So I accidentally, well, not accidentally, I almost threw them away thinking, why on earth do I have these? This must be a mistake. And then I'm reading through my directions and okay, good, I'm supposed to have these. So keep those handy as well. And then you also have 2 pieces of paper this month. So we have tips for the detectives listed here. And basically the great thing about this program is everything's already pre-cut. You don't have to cut anything. It's just pieces that come. It might be squares, it might be triangles, and the directions will tell you what piece goes where. You sew it up, you're done for the month. So it's really quick and easy. Shouldn't take you too terribly long to do. So that's one of the things I really like about this. So on the front, it also gives me, like I said, the fabric chart. There is a Mystery Quilters Facebook group that you should join if you're part of this. And it gives you how to make sure you have a nice 1/4" seam. And then it says pressing matters. Tells you a little bit of how to press instead of iron. Good reminder also on there to make sure that your machine is clean and ready to go. I honestly would suggest that if you haven't changed your needle in a while, you do that. Make sure your bobbin area is all cleaned out. I just did that today, getting ready for this clue. And obviously finished is better than perfect. So that's all our good stuff on this. We also have our direction sheets. So that's going to be the one that tells you, you know, fabric 1 small triangle goes with the fabric 2 or whatever it is. So definitely take a look at that. All right. I think that's the main couple things that I wanted to cover on here. Oh, and if anything that comes is not cut correctly, you can contact them. It's cottoncuts.com/PMQ Puzzle Mystery Quilt -support. So right there on the bottom, and that's on their website, and you can go straight there. Don't stick it on a Facebook message, don't do it an Instagram message. Go straight there and it'll give you a form to walk through of what you need, what happened, and they'll send it out to you really quick. So, all right, that's the good stuff. And now I bet you're wondering what we're making. So I'm making the small size. The large size is going to have some different clue pieces, but this is what small should look like. You're going to make a bunch of these. So I currently have, let's see, 3 of them. So you're going to make 4 altogether of these guys. So this month there honestly is quite a bit of work, but that's okay. I don't mind it. And then you're also going to make 1 of these. Well, I should say 2 of these. I already made 1. We got to make 1 more. So that's the pieces that we have for small this month. And I will be doing a sew along. So if you're interested in seeing how I put it together, some tips and tricks and things like that, keep watching. If not, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button so you never miss a video, tell your friends, give me a thumbs up, that really, really helps. And if there's anything that you want to see, you have questions about, hit me up in the comment section below and I will do my best to answer everything. All right. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Those of you who are sewing along with me, hold on. All right, I hope you guys are all ready to get started. So we are going to just start with clue number 1, and I like to chain piece. It goes a little bit quicker for me. So you're going to notice that I get clue 1 ready, and then I move into clue 2, and I just start sewing. And that way, like I said, for me, it's not, you know, start and stop and start and stop and start and stop, but it goes a little bit quicker. So you're going to notice that I do that. If that's not something you're comfortable with, please don't feel like you have to, okay? So let me show you what pieces are going to go together for you. So for the first part, you're going to have a long rectangle, which for me is E, and you're going to have 2 squares, which for me is my D fabric. And what you're going to want to do is on either end, one right here and one right here, you're going to put your small little squares. So you're just going to want to line them up carefully, making sure to match ends first, and then you're going to pin or clip whatever way is your personal preference, okay? So I'm going to pin these, and just want to make sure that they line up well. It's a bad habit, don't stick pins in your mouth. Alright, so I'm a little persnickety about making it sure it lines up well, that's just me. I just find it makes for a better finished product. So I'm going to get these ones pinned, and then, like I said, we're going to move to clue number 2 and start pinning those guys as well. Alright, there we go. Finally got that one lined up to my liking. Okay, so that one's ready to go. I'm going to put this other square off to the side just so it doesn't get lost. I'm going to flip my sheet around, go to clue, well, not clue, but step 2, essentially, the second part. So you're going to have 3 different triangles. You're going to have a large one, which is your A fabric. You're going to have 2 smaller ones, which are B and C fabrics. So what you want to do is you're going to take your B fabric and make sure this long edge is on that left-hand side, okay? And then you're going to take your C fabric and make sure that long edge is on the right-hand side. So they are going to be sitting together like this, right? And then you're going to flip them. So you're going to put pretty sides together or right sides together and pin that. So you're going to do that with both of your sections, and then we're going to sew all those together. So flip and pin. I like to try to match up the little edges. So they even clip the dog ears for us, which is awesome. Literally, there is no cutting in this at all. You're going to have to do some snipping, and by that I mean you did a line of sewing and now you got to clip the threads that attaches this to either your machine or the other pieces of fabric. Literally all you have to do. Super, super fun and easy, and I actually have time to do it in between my hectic work schedule, which makes me really happy because by the end of the 10 months I'm going to have a beautiful quilt with lovely colors. These are just so soothing to me, I don't know why, that didn't stress me out to make. So very fun. It's great for new quilters. I started the fall one last year, and I was just starting to quilt. So for me, it was a great way to learn, you know, about your quarter square triangles and your half square triangles, and you know, how to work with biases and how to properly sew a 1/4 inch seam, how to make sure that you're paying attention to what you're sewing. There's been a few times where I'm like, oh yeah, it's perfect, and then I open it up and I'm like, that was not done on the correct edge. So, you know, I've had a chance to really improve a lot of my skills doing this, so this has been fun. All right, so everything's put together, and I'm going to sew these. So let's get to it. So I'm set up here already. What you're gonna notice is that I have a fabric underneath my presser foot already. And so this is my leader. I use this to make sure that when I'm sewing, when I'm getting my fabrics through, my nice fabric doesn't get chewed up by the machine. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you have your tails of your thread, and those are out so that you can grab them. So I'm going to sew a couple of stitches to get off of this fabric, and then I'm going to feed this guy in. So hold on to those ends, sew a couple of stitches. You can either lift up your presser foot and position the fabric that you want to put under there, or you can just gently feed it. It's up to you. But I would go slow, just make sure you get that corner in as you can, even with the leader. I was doing my show and tell pieces earlier, and even with the leader, some of mine were getting chewed up. So just be very careful, go really slow. And we are working with bias fabrics, which means that the fabric that you have under your needle right now is going to be that stretchier length of fabric. So one way of I don't know what you want to call it. Let's see. So let me bring this out. So one way doesn't really have much stretch. One way is going to have a little bit more when you pull it. So if you see I'm pulling it, it actually stretches versus not on bias, right? So when you're doing these angle, that's going to be your bias. It's stretchy, it can distort your fabric. So you want to be really, really careful when you're working on the bias. All right. So now I'm just feeding it in like I would normally. Pulling the pins. It's up to you if you want to stop and pull, or if you just want to have a slow speed, then you can pull your pin out. You know, please don't judge yourself against anybody else. Do what is good for you. Do what is safe. No sticking your fingers underneath the needle. That's how you get pieces punctured that shouldn't be punctured. And we're just going to put that last piece underneath. If you don't yet have a 1/4 inch foot for your machine, I highly recommend it. I had just the regular foot, and I was absolutely horrible about actually keeping a good 1/4 inch, and I started sitting there and drawing a 1/4 inch on all of my fabrics, which was such a pain in the butt. But this makes it so much easier. Alright, so I got to the end of that, and now I'm going to put essentially my ender fabric. So this just allows me to get set up for my next run of stitching. So I'm just going to, oops, what happened to you? There we go. Get a clip, and then just clip between them, and clip off my leader. Now, when I'm actually thinking ahead and I'm planning, I've been able to put together pieces of another project by using that as my leaders and enders and doing the sewing that way. So that's another great way to do 2 projects at the same time. All right, so I've got my little bits here, and let's go over and get this pressed, and then we'll keep moving on. Alrighty, so we've got our 3 pieces ready to press. One thing that you'll notice if you're reading through your directions for clue, that first one with the rectangles, it says press towards E. So for me, my E fabric again is this blue right here. So what I'm going to do, this is what we're talking about, this big middle part is I'm going to take my iron, press down, as really we're pressing, we're not ironing, we're not moving it around. We don't want to distort the seam. So we press to set the seam, and then, actually easier if you start this way. Since we're pressing towards E, the color that I'm pressing towards is going to be on top. And then I just gently roll it and press. Again, I'm not pushing at it, I'm not moving it around, I'm just gently pressing. And what you don't want to see is stitching. So you should have a nice press. You can put that one to the side. And then you're going to get your little triangles out. And this one also gives pressing directions. Those of you who were doing the fall quilts that I'm still working on, I don't recall them ever having pressing directions in there, so this is really exciting. So it says press towards B2, which in my case the B fabric is this purple, this dark purple. So dark purple goes on top, I set the seam, and I roll it back. Nice and gentle. I'm not doing anything crazy. If you want, you can press it on the back side too. Flip it over and just give it an extra press. That's up to you. But you're going to see, you're not seeing the stitching lines in here. You're just seeing a nice straight crease. And actually, I can give you an example. So when you're looking at this, hopefully you can see, you can actually see the stitches. And you don't want it to look like that, because if you see that, you pressed it way too hard. And you pushed it, you didn't just press. So do that again with the last one, pressing it towards your B fabric, which in my colorway is that darker purple. And there you have it. Those 3 pieces are done for this round at least. Alright, so we're going to go back to the sewing machine. We're going to put some more pieces together and then we're going to sew those up. Alright, let's go back to our rectangles. We're going to get out that rectangle that we set aside, and that's going to go on this far end. So we have bookends of squares on this big rectangle. So you're going to put pretty sides together, also known as right side together in quilting parlance. Make sure that your lines are nicely even on both the top and the sides. Pin, pin, pin. And that is ready. So you can set that one aside. Now these, you're going to get out your big triangle, which for me is my number 1 fabric. This really fun fabric right here. And this is going to go and meet this one. So that's what it's going to look like when we finish. So I'm going to have the long ends together, put them right sides together, and I'm just going to pin. So just with anything else, again, we're working on the bias. You want to make it as least stretched out of place as possible. So what you're going to see me doing is I'm putting my pins on either side, and that's just making sure that these ends are lined up where I want them. And then I come down to the middle and I pin right by that initial, oh gosh, not crease, that initial sew line right there. So that's where I'm going to put it. Do the same thing with the other one. Long sides together. So it should just match up perfectly if it all was done correctly. One thing that I would suggest too is make sure that these are sized correctly. So remember those triangles that they gave us? Those are partially to help, at least I'm assuming, make sure that we got the right sizes. So in our directions it says hold on to those, we're going to want to keep them around for future uses. And on our directions it says that this fabric 1 is a large triangle and the other ones are medium triangles. So I could get those cardboard triangles out and lay them on top. So again, we have our cardboard triangles. Here's my large one, I lay it on top to make sure it fits. So that's one use that I've gathered we have for these, and others I'm sure will become apparent later. Alright, so since I already have my leader set in there, I don't have to hold the thread this time because it's already in the fabric. It's not going to get pulled out. And I'm going to get a couple stitches off that fabric and just feed this guy in. So when you're sewing, make sure that you're not tugging or pulling or pushing. You just want to gently guide the fabric to where you want it to go. And if you need to go really, really, really slow to make that happen, to get a good straight seam where you're not tugging at your fabrics or anything like that, then go slow. That's okay. You should have seen how slowly I crawled around when I first started. I was like this. Maybe. I might have gone a little slower, but anyways, just go the speed that you are comfortable with. That's all I'm really trying to say. Pull out your needles. Make sure everything stays lined up. That's the big challenge is sometimes while you're sewing you're going to see that things aren't perfectly lined up anymore, and then you just adjust as well as you can while you're sewing. What else? If you are having trouble with your stitches, they're not coming out pretty, it might just be something that you can rethread the machine. That seems to solve a lot of my problems. So I'll rethread the entire top, and I'll actually take the bobbin out and rethread from the bottom as well. So sometimes if I've only done one, it doesn't fix it, but if I do both, top and bottom, it magically fixes it. Don't know why, don't know what I was doing, but that's a, a pretty good first step. Most machines also have tension controls on them, so check out your owner's manual, make sure that you're adjusting it correctly, and then when you test your stitch, do it on an extra or scrap piece of fabric, so you're not stretching or you're not testing it on your nice pretty mystery quilt fabric. Alright. Got that sewn, so then I'm going to pull my scrap fabric out again and get near the end, and then I just snip. And the thing I really love about this is I'm not having to pull up my needle and take it out from the presser foot and then take it over to the little cutty thing on my machine. So I'm actually saving some steps, saving some thread. Alright, so we have these guys sewn together. Let's go back over the pressing mat and we'll look at the directions for pressing these items as well. Alrighty, so we've got this put together, but now we have to press it to get that final bit done. So again, I'm pressing from the back because I want to press it towards this middle color. So that's just easiest for me. And then I lift it up and just gently, gently roll it over. Again, you're not doing any weird back and forth, around, hoppity hops. Just roll and press. And that piece is done. Okay? Then these ones are going to be where it gets a little bit tricky. So you're going to see it says press 4 towards A and 4 towards C, B. So like I said, I've already done all the other pieces, so this is just the last two I have left. So if you're doing, you're sewing all of these guys first and then moving on to the next step, that'll make more sense to you. But for what I'm going to do, since this is just, I have one of each, is I'm going to press one towards this side and one towards this side. And that way your fabrics will actually be able to nest really well. And I'll show you what I mean in a second, but that's going to help everything line up really, really pretty and way, way nicer than if you haven't pressed it according to these directions. All right, so that one was towards CB. This one I'm going to press towards my A fabric. And again, just set the seam and then roll. Roll and set. All right, so these guys are all put together, and now I just have to put these two together and then I'm done. All right, we're ready for the last bit. So the way that it makes sense in my mind, and maybe in yours as well, and thankfully we have a diagram right there, but you're going to take your big triangle, which is your A fabric, and that's going to be on your two ends. So it's going to be your top left and your top right fabric. And so it's going to be like this, and that means your two middle fabrics that are touching are B and C. So you're going to flip that over, and then when I'm talking about nesting, so you can see this one's pressed one way, this other one's pressed the other way, and when you put them together, they lock really, really nicely right in here. So that is what they're talking about when they say nesting seams. And you can just push those two fabrics together and they pretty much lock into place, and then the other side will do the same thing. And you just want to lock those into place, and then I'll do one in the middle, just like I did for the other ones. So I have that all put together, and now I'm going to put it under my needle again. You are going to have a lot of bulk at these ends, so be careful. This is one of the spots where I was having trouble with it eating my fabric. So hopefully I don't have that issue this time. And again, just going slow. There we go. I got through that first bit. Going slow, letting the machine do the work. Your feed dogs below will be helping to move your fabric along. So just let them do their job. Make sure that they're up and engaged. That definitely helps. I've made that mistake of sewing and I'm like, why isn't my fabric doing what it's supposed to? Oh yeah, well that's because my fabric isn't getting pulled from the bottom. So yeah, just make sure everything's set up the way it should be. Definitely helps. We all have these learning moments, right? And then just make sure everything's together the way I want it. Put it through. And since I am done, this time I'm going to lift up my needle and clip off my leader. And then all we have to do is press this one seam and we are done. And the directions this time say press towards B. And again, my B fabric is this purple. So this side is going to be the one that's on top. So give me 1 second, I'm going to press that and I'll be right back. Alright everybody, so we have completed this part and this part. So you should have 2 of these when you're done, and oh, that one fell. You should have 4 of these when you're done, alright? And those also have measurements on here, which is awesome. So the long rectangle one should be 17.5 by 4 3/4 when finished. And the other one should be 12.5 by 6.5. Then they also give you these labels that you can use to label each one of your pieces. I don't really tend to use that. I, on the other hand, just throw everything back in the bag that it came from. So I'm going to take my how-tos. I'm going to take my pretty list of what fabric is what. They also send you this. This is just to keep everything solid. And I'm going to fold up my pieces and I'm going to stick it in my bag. And for me, this is just the best way for me to stay on top of what I have, not losing anything. And then if I need to, at the end, I can go back and I can put the names and numbers on them at that time. But this for me is just an easier way of doing it. But do what is comfortable for you. If you want to cut out those pieces, go for it. If you want to take a photocopy and, you know, put pieces in without completely cannibalizing your directions, do that too. Whatever works for you. But I'm going to stick my fabrics in its little included case and get that ready to go in my little basket, and then I'll have everything ready for when month 10 rolls around. All right, so that's one clue. Clue one, there we go. I can't talk today. The first clue of the Spring 2019 Mystery Quilt is complete. If y'all have comments, questions, concerns, all that kind of good stuff, drop me a line below. I love hearing from you. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and the like button if you don't mind. And I will see you guys next month for both the second clue for this one, and I think we're on clue 8 from the fall mystery. So definitely take a look at those, and I'll see you soon.